2 more races down, and we're still all tied up in the America's Cup match. Far out. Who would have thought? This is the first time we've seen it 2-all on day 2 since 2007. Who would have thought it? My name's Nick Douglas. This is your AC Chat and Rap Show. Races 3 and 4 today. A win to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli in race 3 and a win to Emirates Team New Zealand in race 4. And now we see a pattern. I know we try to just find patterns in sport, don't we? It's just how we are. And maybe it isn't a pattern. Well, it is a pattern, but maybe it's got no actual bearing on the result. But for now, all we've got to go by is that the boat that's entered on port has won the race. So, now we can pose the question, who will be the first to break the serve? Who will be the first to win, not on port entry? Because that could decide who actually wins the America's Cup. And it's all getting very exciting. We weren't sure just in breeze. We weren't sure what would happen in regards to their smaller foil package. Well, they're fast in not very much breeze. And whomever's out in front seems to be able to get the job done, so to speak. So we saw 2 very good starts. Both starts with Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli to windward today. Yesterday they were to leeward. So let's get straight into the action and check out just what went down today. So here's we might have a look at a little bit of the opening action, so to speak. A mass of spectators. So great to see level 1 restrictions, which was the first win of the day. We haven't seen level 1 since, I think, 2 days after the Prada Cup final. And, of course, they were back in level 3, then level 2, just in time for the start of the Cup. Level 1. Oh, so good. Then in we go to race number 1, straight off the bat. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli started to windward with gauge. Quite an even start. Emirates tax on the boundary, which they're allowed to do, and Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli is required to give way, given it's a continuing obstruction. Manages to lee bow, and they lead from there. That was race 1 by 37 seconds in the end. So quite a big win in regards, or in terms of what we saw happening yesterday. The stats: 27 knots to Italy, 29 to New Zealand, upwind. They were faster overall. Downwind speed, faster overall to the Kiwis again. Maximum speed with the Kiwis. Distance sailed, much more to the Kiwis. Probably in that pre-start with the extra turn when they entered on starboard, and also on one of those upwinds there. Tax 18 and 17, jibes 9 and 8. So this is what we're starting to see with that starboard entry. 2, or at least 1 more manoeuvre, sometimes 2 more manoeuvres. So very interesting. Race number 2 got underway. Another windward start to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Not as much gauge. And Emirates Team New Zealand managed to flick them before the boundary. Very similar to what we saw with the start in race 4, I think, of the Prada Cup final against Ineos, where Ineos managed to actually squeeze. Or it must have been race 5, because we saw Ineos take a win. Here is the mishap on board Luna Rossa. We might just rewind a little bit there and have another look at that. This is that jibe, which Kiko went on to say was just missing the button. Nothing wrong with the arm. He literally just missed the button. So let's roll straight into the interviews with Kiko and see what he had to say about today's racing.
The thing was great. We proved that the boat is going well in the light wind, that we can win races in the light wind. We knew it, but it's nice to prove it. And we proved that if we can that we can win the America's Cup, I think. It's a very simple explanation. I missed a button, I pressed the wrong button, and then when I pressed the correct one, the system didn't accept the cancellation of the first command, and so it took 1 or 2 seconds, and at those speeds, you cannot make a mistake of 2 seconds. So yeah, it's a mistake that I did, and I'm sure it's not going to happen again, at least on the same button. Well, you guys know better than me that it's pretty obvious that the boats are very similar in performance. There is not enough of a difference to overcome mistakes, and any boat can win. So it's about how you sail the boat, and about how you perform in the starting line and in the maneuvers. Yeah, I think there is a lot to be analyzed about the videos and numbers of today, and we need to do that as soon as possible, because tomorrow is coming quickly. I think the recipe is still the same one. You have to just do the things, the right things right, and you have to just keep improving, keep trying not to make the same mistake twice, and yeah, it's not much more.
And I love that he says he won't make the same mistake twice, that being that he won't press the wrong button, well, that wrong button again. He doesn't promise not to press the wrong button again, which is quite entertaining. He is such a character. And I have to say at this point that 2-2, that means now 2 wins for Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Their country now, Italy, has won 3 races in America's Cup match finals, which is pretty spectacular. This is the team that's won the most for their country. In 2007, though, it was Emirates Team New Zealand that was 2-2 with Alinghi. That's the last time we saw 2-2 in that cup. Alinghi actually went to win the cup. They went on to win the cup with actually quite a few New Zealanders on board. There was a big hullabaloo. But the first time it was 2-2, and the time before that was in 1920, when Resolute beat Shamrock 3-2. So they were 2-2. Resolute's main fell down in race 1. Then they got beaten fair and square in race 2. And then they won the next 3 in a row. So it was 2-2 at some point. But it hasn't been 1-1 then 2-2. So in 2007 it went 1 apiece and then 1 apiece. Very similar to this match though. It was favoured to the starboard entry then. So we saw starboard entry win, starboard entry win, starboard entry win, starboard entry win, and then Alinghi went on to win a few more. So yeah, it's really interesting actually looking back throughout history. And speaking of history, it was interesting to see how Pete Burling managed to recover today from that loss, up number 1 basically, and actually gather his team together to do well. There were a few telling comments from him in the in-between race interviews. One telling comment was, we actually got to practice our tacks in that race, meaning race 3. Another telling comment was, we're actually really happy with our boat setup, which they were. They did not change a thing going into the second race today. So from race 3 to race 4, Emirates Team New Zealand didn't change anything. They were just getting more confident with their boat handling. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli changed their jib up. So they actually went from a smaller jib than Emirates Team New Zealand to a larger jib. So to the same size jib. So that was actually interesting too. And I'm wondering if that hindered Luna Rossa's manoeuvres. But Emirates Team New Zealand was so confident with their boat that they went out and gave it another crack in the same setup, and we saw how that eventuated in race number 2. So a lot of confidence from Pete Burling there to back his team and go, no, we're set up right, we're going to go again. So that was really interesting. But the heart rates in race 1, we saw 150 to Pete Burling. That's the highest I've ever seen his heart rate, and 82 on James Spithill. So, you know, that's about where James usually sits. And someone made the comment to me, actually, maybe Pete's heart rate is higher because he actually has to run, like do that sprint around the bow, which he didn't have to do as much of a sprint in Bermuda because he just went across the back of the cat. Not to say that that wasn't a sprint. So all these interesting things that are coming out. So let's hear from Pete Burling on how the day went down for him.
Yeah, well, I think we could definitely take a lot of positives out of the first race. It was something that we put ourselves in a position with about 30 seconds to go where we wanted to be in the start. It felt like we're getting better and better at tacking, definitely learning where you can and cannot sit behind someone in these boats, but to then kind of execute that last 30 seconds a bit better in that last race to get off the line ahead was something that was obviously pleasing for us to bounce back from that first loss. Yeah, we're definitely obviously super happy to walk away with a win in that second race. It felt like the first race wasn't really all over after the pre-start, but we kind of made life hard for ourselves up the first beat, and then had to do an extra few manoeuvres around the next lap as well, which really took us out of the race. But no, it's something I think we're learning all the time. It's probably been our fourth start in a tight environment like this in the last 3 months, where Luna Rossa has come out of a pretty tight series. So we definitely feel like we're getting better and better. Well, I think we checked in about where we thought we'd be. Both Max and myself would have said in that first press conference, it's always very hard to tell how you're going when you come into these events. But you can definitely say that if you're sailing in bad air behind someone, it's pretty hard to make the boat go fast. But we're still really happy with the boat we've got and the way it goes when we get it in the right.
So he's really happy with the boat he's got. I wouldn't be unhappy with the boat that he's got. It's going very, very well, and that's, I think, where it's getting interesting, because both of these boats have come up with different solutions, but they're so closely matched. Yeah, I don't think anybody can really pick it. Will we see more aggression in the start box? I don't know, and none of us know, because we're still sort of learning how this is all going to play out. They did think they'd have all of the warm-up series, I know, but imagine the days in the America's Cup when literally they didn't have any of the warm-up regattas, so there was no Christmas Cup, and literally you wouldn't race against the defender until you actually got to the Cup. It's so stressful, like trying to work out what's going to happen. There's so many, eventuation scenarios I'm trying to come up with in my brain that could have played out. And now we're starting to see it happen, which is why the America's Cup is so special and so exciting. So, it's next level, this competition, and just watching them all deal with it as well. I've had a lot of people commenting that it's boring. You might have seen on my page that I posted an artist impression of a course with a number of gates. Just because, there's no other way really to make it any closer than to make them actually come back together. But we have to remember, guys, that these sailors are sailing these boats at such a high level. That's why it's also so interesting watching them, not make mistakes. But then they can make mistakes. We saw that with Keko today. Like, he just didn't press the button properly. Or in my morning show this morning, I showed that yesterday Burling was just late for a start, and he went, "Oh, boop, sorry, boys." So it can happen. These amazing machines and these spectacular athletes are human at the end of the day. So there can be errors and there can be mistakes. So try and remember that too, that when it looks boring, it's actually incredible what they're achieving. And we don't always have to watch people crash and burn to be excited. Well, I hope not. Because, it's so special, really, to watch how far our sport has come and how many people are getting intrigued and interested. And so if we were to go back to something like what was happening in 1983, we might go back with the amount of people that have gotten interested in sailing too. So we just sort of have to take it all as it comes and goes. But let's have a look at the interviews with Jimmy Spithill and see what he has to say. And then we're going to have some fun, because I've got some fun bits for you from all of the press conferences and all of the behind the scenes little moments. I've been getting some snippets from tour as well, from people partying in the village. So I'll share them with you once we get through this interview with Jimmy.
I think the last 2 days of racing has showed that the lead boat has been in a dominant position. It basically takes a mistake from the lead boat for the other team to get around. And that first cross is critical. There's no two ways about it. You know, both teams are putting a lot of energy and effort into it. So are we. And every single time we go out against these guys, we learn something. And we'll be trying to apply that tomorrow. Yeah, surprisingly even, I thought, out there. You know, I thought they were a little quicker downwind. And at times, you know, upwind tacking, we were probably taking a little gain. But again, the lead boat dominated the course. You know, it just wasn't many passing lanes. I think the fact that the breeze has been pretty steady on course E for the last couple of days, it can get dynamic out there, the wind pattern. If we see a change on the course C or maybe even to course A, then I think it'll be, you know, there'll be passing lanes. I thought teams have both sailed 2 good races each. You know, the scoreline doesn't lie, the results don't lie. The team that won deserved to win, made fewer mistakes. That's sport, but I think from an event point of view, it's fantastic to see all squared up, all to play for. Yeah, I mean, the team's excited, they're pumped. It's been a relentless campaign, a long road. I mean, we've come through the Challenger Series, the semis, the final. But yeah, it's an incredible bunch. You know, very passionate, emotional, and very, very hard workers. So yeah, we've got a lot of support down here from family and friends, and obviously back in Italy. It's a great feeling. You know, we're ready to fight, and yeah, Italians love a fight.
The Italians love a fight, and so does Jimmy Spithill. I know you may or may not have seen this little glamour, but here's a little takeout from the opening press conference, which was a bit of a crack up.
Jimmy, a lot of talk before the racing started was all about how dominant Team New Zealand were going to be, and a lot of people didn't really give you much of a chance. Have you got a message to all those people that maybe wrote you off a little too early?
Well, you mean people like you?
No, I didn't write you off.
You guys never get it wrong, do you?
Never.
Them's fighting words. That was actually from the press conference after racing yesterday, which was good fun. Today we had Kiko going on about his button and how he's never going to press that button in the wrong way again. So there's been a few fun moments behind the scenes. One of the fun moments in New Zealand at the moment is this spectator boat. Let me find them for you. I have some seriously funny footage from Sue Bunce, one of our followers in New Zealand. Now this party boat is next level. Let's have a look at it here. So here they are. This was yesterday morning, heading out onto the racetrack. And there are pictures of this party boat on every outlet, let's say. I now have photos of them as well, which is quite entertaining. They're on fire all day, every day. That's the music coming off their boat. Now, I can report, thanks to Tor, she's just sent me this video from the viaduct. So it's now, 11:15? They're still going. They're on fire. That is the party boat. So if you see that boat in New Zealand, I feel like you'll need to give them a hydrolyte if you see them in the AM. And if you see them in the PM, you might have to buy them a rum or something. I don't know what the drink of choice in New Zealand is, because Australians would say, I get your Bundy and Coke. Yuck. What's the Kiwi drink? Does anybody know? I'd love to be educated. Please tell me what the Kiwi national drink is. I mean, the Bermuda drink was the rum swizzle. I have consumed a lot of those in my lifetime. That was fantastic. But I don't know what the Kiwi national drink is. So please let me know. I want on that boat, says Rob Southey Lattimore. You'll have to go find it. It looks like a glamour for those who are looking for a good time. Excellent. So we had lots of cheering when everybody came in today as well. So great to see all the spectators out and about again. I'm loving it. And there are the scores, as we said, the port entry. Port. Tomorrow it will be Emirates Team New Zealand entering from port, and then Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli entering from port. And I'm wondering who's going to be the first to break serve. as I said in my opening. Basically, that's what I'm calling it now. If you enter on port, it's your surf. And if you don't go through to win, you've been broken. So we'll see how that eventuates as time continues. But a lot of my adventurers, and thanks to everybody who's pointed it out, and gosh, there's been some good chat on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram today. So thank you, everybody, and a shout out to anybody who's also watching on YouTube. It's been pointed out to me that the last boat, so when if it's tied 6-6, Emirates will have the port entry. So if it does get to 6-6, they will be serving, so to speak, into the decider match. So we'll see what happens. Tomorrow's weather. Because we're at level 1 restrictions, we can now bring courses B, C and D in the middle here into play, which is so exciting because these courses actually have quite a bit of land around them, which makes for a more a more variable racetrack. So there could be more passing lanes as well for those who are looking for a more exciting racetrack based on our Christmas tree diagram that you might see. Thanks to everybody who's saying bubbles and beer. Well, that's the Australian drink too. Maybe we are more similar than we'd like to admit. Bubbles and beer. Maybe it's Steinlager. Is it Steinlager? I guess that's the official beer of the America's Cup. And Mum is the official, or Mum is the official bubbles. So yes, very, very exciting stuff. We'll be back in the morning at 0800 hours with Tour on the Ground Australian time, which is 1000 hours Kiwi time, which is 9 p.m. UK time, 10 p.m. European time, and incredibly early for anyone in the US, so my apologies. That's just when we do our morning weather show. You can watch it when you wake up if you would like to, and we run through the weather with our weather guy. We get all of the goss in the village. Tor tries to grab some people as well, which is great. So we will keep you posted on that, and then we'll see if we can get some dock outs as well. If we will actually be on course C, B or D, it will be a lot closer. So the dock outs will be a bit later and we might be able to catch those, which would be absolutely fantastic. It's been lovely to have you all with us this evening. I'm really excited also to confirm that John Bertrand will be doing our wrap-up show. So that will be his third appearance. He wrapped up the round robin with us. He wrapped up the Prada Cup final with us, and he will also be wrapping up the America's Cup as well, which is fantastic. So a big thanks to John Bertrand for being such a fan of the show. It's really, really appreciated, and we look forward to replaying the entire series when we do get him on that evening, which will be very fun indeed. My name's Nick Douglas for Adventures of a Sailor Girl, and all of you amazing followers out there. It's been my absolute pleasure to be with you this evening, and I'm looking forward to a glass of bubbles myself. It is Friday after all. I'll see you all in the morning. Cheers, guys.